Look at the pipe. A sick man sits upright in a late 16th century English room while a physician brings the glowing bowl toward his mouth. He is not being offered a vice. He may believe he is being treated. The leaf inside that pipe has only recently crossed the Atlantic. It can be crushed onto a wound, pressed against an aching tooth, or burned so the smoke enters the body. Now let the room disappear. The same pipe turns up in a sailor's hand at the docks. Then it reaches an alehouse table. By 1604, King James is complaining that tobacco has entered meals, greetings, and ordinary company, and that refusing a pipe can make a man seem unfriendly. That change passed through 3 doors: the sick room, the table, and the counting house. The first made tobacco look useful. The second made smoking look normal. The third made sure the bowl stayed full. So how did medicine help teach Europe to smoke? You are holding a cup of coffee when someone nearby lights a cigarette. You smell it before you see it, and the warning is already in your head. Erase that warning. Erase the science. Erase 4 centuries of hindsight. In 1577, a London reader could open John Frampton's English translation of a Spanish physician's book and find tobacco recommended for headaches, toothaches, swellings, and fresh wounds. The transformation did not happen everywhere in Europe at once. England simply leaves one of the clearest trails in books, royal complaints, port records, and thousands of broken clay pipes. And that trail begins before the leaf reaches London. On the coast of what is now North Carolina, Thomas Hariot watches local communities cultivate a plant he calls upawak. They sow it carefully. They dry it. They draw its smoke through clay pipes. Do not make the English observer the center of the scene. The plant already has meaning, knowledge, and rules around it before he arrives. Hariot does not carry all of that home. He carries the effects he thinks he can explain. In his 1588 account, he claims the smoke can clear bodily passages, remove unwanted matter, preserve health, and restore strength. The village becomes a paragraph. The relationships around the plant disappear. What survives the voyage is a leaf, a pipe, and a promise that something powerful happens inside the body. A traveler's claim, however, can still sound like a sailor's tale. For tobacco to enter a European sick room, the promise needs a physician's voice. Move to the docks of Seville. Nicolás Monardes never crosses the Atlantic. Ships bring the Atlantic to him: bark, roots, resins, dried leaves, and people ready to describe what each object supposedly does. On his table, tobacco stops being merely strange. It becomes a set of instructions. Warm the leaves near the embers, pound them in a mortar. Press the juice onto a wound, place a small piece near an aching tooth. The actions matter more than the theory. A patient can see the leaf heated. A family member can hear the mortar strike. Someone can place the plant on the painful spot and wait for a change. Monardes even writes that injured people in Seville run for tobacco. That line does not prove the remedy works or that everyone uses it. It proves something more useful to this story. A respected physician is telling readers exactly what to do. Then Frampton translates those instructions into English. Watch the printing press close. Ink touches paper. Pages are folded. A book crosses a London counter. The sailor no longer needs to stand beside the patient. The printed page can speak for him. But there is a problem with the title of this episode. Most of those treatments do not require smoking. The leaf can be pressed, boiled, crushed, rubbed, or held against the body. Medicine has made tobacco useful, but it has not yet made the pipe necessary. That requires a different kind of proof. In 1595, London readers can buy a small book called Tobacco. Its pages collect physicians' opinions about the plant's medical powers, while its title image shows a man with a pipe and smoke curling beside his face. Stand beside that smoker for one breath. The smoke enters. His throat tightens. He coughs. His mouth fills with saliva. His head and chest feel different almost at once. To you, the reaction looks like a warning. To a 16th century supporter, the reaction can look like evidence. Bodies were often understood through movement and balance. Something cold, wet, thick, or blocked needed to be warmed, dried, thinned, or driven out. Tobacco smoke was hot, dry, forceful, and impossible to ignore. If the smoker coughed up mucus or felt his head clear, the body appeared to be responding. The pipe turned an invisible theory into a public performance. Light the bowl. Draw the smoke. Watch the body react. No physician has to remain in the room. No exact dose has to be remembered. The smoker can carry the entire performance in his pocket. That is the first door. Medicine did not invent smoking, and physicians did not act as one united group. Some promoted tobacco, others doubted or attacked it, but medical language gave a foreign practice something it desperately needed in Europe, a respectable reason to begin. The second door is made of fired clay. A pipe maker presses and shapes a small bowl, pulls out a narrow stem, lets the clay dry, and places it in the kiln. The finished object is light and fragile. Drop it on stone and it snaps. That weakness becomes an advantage. Look closely at the bowl. It is much smaller than the bowl on many later pipes because tobacco is still expensive. The object limits each smoke to a small amount, but it also makes the ritual easy to repeat. Fill, light, inhale, empty, begin again. The pipe does not need to last for years. It only needs to survive long enough to teach the next pair of hands what to do. A broken pipe is not a sacred instrument or a locked medical device. It is an object that can be made again, sold again, and carried by the next customer. Archaeologists now find so many fragments that clay pipes help them date English sites from the late 16th century onward. Follow one intact pipe to the quay. A sailor steps from a ship with tobacco tucked among his belongings. He carries no physician's book. He carries the action itself. A flame touches the bowl. Smoke rises. A dock worker watches. Someone asks for a turn. The strange performance becomes repeatable before anyone has agreed on exactly what it means. Then the pipe reaches an alehouse. One person supplies the tobacco. Another leans toward the candle. The bowl moves across the table while hands lift cups, coins strike wood, and stories grow louder. The smoker no longer needs a wound. The new reason for lighting the pipe is sitting across from him. This is why James I's anger matters. In a counterblast to tobacco, published in 1604, he attacks the smoke as filthy and harmful. He is not a neutral witness, and his disgust is part of the performance. But listen to what he is angry about. Tobacco is appearing with meals. Hosts offer it to guests. Refusing can make a person look unpleasant or unfriendly. A king is no longer arguing with a private remedy. He is arguing with etiquette. Pause at the table. A newcomer has a choice. Accept the pipe and join the rhythm of the room, or refuse it and risk looking as though he rejects the company with it. The tobacco may be the same leaf, but the reward has changed. The smoker is no longer waiting only for his body to feel different. He is watching the faces around him. The habit spreads through imitation. A sailor keeps tobacco in a pouch. A grocer weighs it behind a counter. A woman grows the plant among household herbs and may smoke it herself. At the Inns of Court, gentlemen place pipes beside food and conversation. In 1624, Cambridge officials threatened students with expulsion if they smoked near Trinity College Hall during the King's visit. The pipe has crossed classes and spaces, but it has not made everyone equal. In a gentleman's chamber, the smoke can be described as refined. In a sailor's hand, it still carries the rough image of ports, foreign travel, and disorder. The person holding the pipe changes what observers think the smoke means. That is the second door. Company gives tobacco a reason to be lit when no one is sick. Now follow the coin. A customer drops it on a shop counter. A seller weighs a small portion of leaf and folds it for the street. Nearby, another clay pipe waits to replace the one that broke yesterday. The habit grows one small exchange at a time. James can condemn tobacco in print, but his government also sees a trade worth controlling. Import duty rises from 2 pence to 82 pence per pound. Selected makers receive privileges over the London pipe trade. Domestic growers discover that an acre of tobacco can be worth far more than ordinary farm work, until the Crown restricts cultivation and tries to direct the profits. Look at the contradiction in human scale. A woman tends tobacco among medicinal plants in her garden. An official arrives with an order that limits what can be grown. At the port, a customs officer opens another crate and records what the Crown is owed. The government attacks the smoke with one hand and reaches for the money with the other. By 1624, estimated English tobacco imports have risen from about 1,250 pounds 8 years earlier to £500,000. Do not hold the number in your head. Turn it into motion. More crates leave ships. More leaves cross counters. More pipe bowls glow in rooms that have never seen a physician. The habit now has cellars, craftsmen, duties, monopolies, gardens, warehouses, and ships. Disgust can attack a belief. It is much harder to attack a system that pays people every time the belief is repeated. That is the third door. Profit gives tobacco a reason to remain available, but the counting house has another door at the back and it opens toward the Atlantic. Return to the alehouse pipe and turn it over in your hand. The bowl is small. The field hidden behind it is not. In Virginia, John Rolfe begins growing a milder Caribbean tobacco in 1612. In 1617, 20,000 pounds reach England. The next year, shipments more than double. Do not follow the barrel first. Follow the worker into the field. At dawn, an indentured servant bends over rows of fragile plants. Seedlings must be transplanted. Weeds must be pulled. Hornworms must be found and crushed before they strip the leaves. Mature plants are cut, carried, and hung to cure. Miss one part of the cycle and the profit shrinks. Ignore the insects for too long and the crop can vanish. Tobacco demands attention almost constantly. It also wears out the soil, encouraging planters to clear more land and demand more labor. Much of the colony's early workforce comes from English men and women bound to years of service in exchange for passage. Then, in August 1619, captive Africans are forcibly brought to Virginia. They do not arrive as willing migrants. They enter a colony already discovering how much wealth can be extracted when other people's movement and labor are controlled. Tobacco does not create servitude or Atlantic slavery, but the crop helps make Virginia's appetite for land and coerced labor grow. Now look back at the English smoker. He sees a glowing bowl. He does not see the servant checking the underside of each leaf. He does not see the captive stepping from a ship. He does not see trees falling for the next field or barrels rolling toward the James River. The medicine has become a commodity, and the commodity has built distance between pleasure and cost. Return one last time to the sick man at the beginning. The physician still holds the pipe. Smoke still rises between them. But the object is no longer simple. Inside it, you can now see the community whose knowledge was reduced to a promise, the traveler who carried that promise, the physician who turned it into instruction, and the printer who placed it in a stranger's hands. You can see the sailor lighting the bowl, the guest accepting it, the seller weighing the leaf, the crown counting the duty, and the worker bending over the next plant. Medicine did not teach Europe to smoke by itself. It opened the first door. It made the strange act look useful. Company opened the second. It made the act feel normal. Profit opened the third. It made sure someone was always ready to sell the next bowl. Europe learned to smoke not in one dramatic moment, but each time the pipe gained a new reason to be lit.